Welcome back to Don't Forget Your Flashlight.
Damn, I had one job and I forgot it.
What's up?
What's the job?
We're back.
I forgot my flashlight. It said, don't forget your flashlight. I forgot it.
This is tobacco.
Flashlight? Oh, dude, I brought
a
my
flashlight.
Yeah, that's what I brought. Wait, what's the name of our podcast?
I think I tuned in on the wrong episode. I'm gonna go away.
No. This is the podcast about showing off your individual sex toys. You know, the unique ways that make you, you.
Is it Don't Fight Your Feelings?
I failed that one.
Don't Fight Your Feelings. That's what the podcast
It's actually
is.
Don't Fuck Your Father.
I got no comment on that one. Got no comment on that one.
It's wise. It's good advice. It's great advice.
Is that a modern version of what's that Greek story?
Someone just said it the other day. Oedipus, right?
Oedipus, because it's an Oedipus complex. So is that a modern version of Oedipus?
I don't know.
Yes.
Wasn't Oedipus just your mom, though? You wanted to fuck your mom?
So
because-
Oedipus was
is
he
it-
would kill
I
his
thought it was-
father
I thought it was like
and marry
Oedipus.
his mother.
Is
Yeah.
it Oedipus or Oedipus?
Oedipus.
It's Oedipus
Okay.
because
where
it's an
you,
Oedipus complex.
You have such a, I don't know, strong feeling, I guess, for your mother that you basically see no other woman but her. So you'll kill your father to be with her.
And that goes into a Sigmund Freudian thing.
Yeah.
So I've heard that this is totally irrelevant to the current story, but
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I have heard as a kid. We probably should just stop this right now. I'm gonna
You
stop
brought it
before
up.
it gets too.
You brought this up.
I said don't fight your feelings, and you just decided to get really.
For your father. I'm gonna stop.
You are
Anyway.
disturbed.
London beer floods of 1814. Okay, I want you to picture it. Okay, are you picturing it? London,
You're
1814.
picturing it. London.
Westminster. Okay. It's 1814. You're walking down the street when you hear a loud explosion.
Wait. How am I walking down the street? Am I like doing a little
skip walk.
frolic?
No, it's a
Am I
skip
doing a little-
walk. It's like a skip walk.
Like, am I merrily walking? Like, do I have a cane? Can I like be swinging it as I'm?
Yeah.
Am I
Absolutely.
drunk? Am I already drunk walking?
No, not yet.
I'm just spinning my cane. I'm walking. I'm picturing
Actually,
it.
you might be. You might be because it's like 4 or 5 in the afternoon when this happens.
Oh well, we're already drunk. We're
Anyway,
toasted.
you're walking down the street when you hear a loud explosion, and an amber wave races through the streets. Right? People are running to escape the fast-moving IPA. It wasn't actually IPA; it was a port, I believe. but you're too fat and slow, and the wave overtakes you. But you're able to break your head through the surface, and just before the beer takes you under, you see me. You see me burst through the river of hops like a trout swimming upriver. I shoot you a wink as I plunge back underneath the fermented torrent, where your vision fades to black.
Blimey, is this piss or what?
I think it was port.
Dude, I imagine this being like hot beer. It's gonna smell
Porter.
awful.
It was porter. Okay, so, all right, but for real, we're discussing the London beer floods of 1814, which I just found out about this the other day, and I was like, this has to be in the podcast. October 17th, obviously 1814, Beer Fest was just around the corner. When I don't know how to say this, is MEUX, so I'm going to say Meow, maybe? It's probably Meow. Meow and Company, Horseshoe Brewery, would face a great disaster. All right. I gave you a little picture. There's a little picture of a guy. I got you. I set it up. It's up there.
He texted
Send it.
us.
No,
You hate.
you got it now. Anyway, so the picture is a little guy, a little kid with a beer mug surfing on a barrel.
Mhm.
It's a great picture. I actually really
London
like it.
beer flood of 1814.
So the Horseshoe Brewery
How much beer?
was obviously an English brewery in the city of Westminster, named after the tavern, the Horseshoe. The brewery was named after the
I
tavern.
don't think it's pronounced Westminster.
it is.
Confirmed?
Well, okay, how would you
Yeah,
pronounce
because
it?
wasn't the Westminster where like
No, it's not
Jack-
Westminster. It's Westminster.
Minster? Oh, wasn't that where Jack the Ripper
That's
was
true.
ripping at one point?
Hang on, I gotta put my hair band on.
Dude,
Sound
buy one
like
of those
a
like
prissy little
those
girl.
sweat headbands to hold it back.
What?
Buy one of those sweat headbands to hold it back.
I have one somewhere. I don't know what happened to it. Anyway, the Horseshoe Brewery was named after the Horseshoe Tavern. It was established in 1764. The Horseshoe Brewery was a major producer of porter, which is a really dark and hoppy beer. So the type of beer that none of us like to drink.
Westminster.
Oh, I like Guinness.
exactly
Guinness is
what
pretty
I said.
dark.
Westminster.
Does anyone like Guinness in this chat?
Well, look it up. Maybe West is Guinness a porter?
Oh, but it's a
Guinness.
dark beer.
It's a stout.
It's a dark beer, though.
Guinness
I
is a
don't
stout.
know. I'm not a.
Guinness is a stout.
I heard you. I'm not a Zethophile.
Then acknowledge me.
Anyway,
That's all he wants.
in
need
1810,
acknowledgement.
the brewery had they had several wooden fermentation tanks installed on the premises. This one particular one held 3,500 barrels of porter ale, which is the equivalent of 108,500 gallons of beer.
A lot of beer.
A lot of beer. So fermentation barrels are made out of thin planks of wood called staves or staves. These were typically made of oak or other hard woods such as chestnut and redwood. These staves were then held together with metal hoops. I'm sure you guys have seen a barrel before.
No, enlighten me.
Okay, well, either way, it's like a traditional barrel. It's a giant barrel. Okay.
What is a barrel?
Have you seen barrels before?
No, that's what I'm asking. What are barrels?
You gotta describe a
barrels
barrel.
the plural? What
It's
is
like
a barrel?
tube. It's like an engorged tube.
An engorged tube.
I hate you, dude.
How
I hate you. I hate
tubes
you
are
so
usually
much.
pretty like how wide is this tube? Like tubes, I think of tubes. I'm thinking like
yeah,
a
a
tube.
PVC pipe, right? Something like that.
Like an engorged tube. So are we talking like an anaconda after it ate a large meal? So it's just engorged.
Are you gonna answer him or what?
These barrels underwent regular inspections and maintenance.
Notice me, Senpai.
On October 17th, 1814, when the storehouse clerk, George Crick, went on his walk, he went on a walk through doing his normal inspections, probably listening to Vanilla Ice. But during his inspection...
I doubt that. I sincerely doubt that. How is he listening to Vanilla Ice?
It's
in
Sir Vanilla Ice.
1814?
Sir, when did he get knighted?
When did Vanilla Ice become Sir? I have so many questions, Casey. The story's not making sense. I don't trust the validity of the
It's all
story.
over the place. I can't follow it. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely I took some liberties on things.
This is a historical show.
Not really.
We strive to
No.
talk about historical accuracies.
Not really.
And you add Sir Vanilla Ice.
He was probably listening to Beethoven.
He was listening to Beethoven
Yeah, in a Sony Walkman.
in his tiny little
What are they called?
the crank ones, the record players,
Yeah,
the old
what's it
school
called?
ones. Not an anagram.
I know what you're talking about. Where you have to
No,
like
just
hand
continue with the
crank
story.
it.
Actually, that's really gonna bother me. What is that thing called?
Phonograms are gramophones.
Gramophone is what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah, so he was just walking down the
Imagine
street
Carrie
with
Otto's
his
just
portable
listening to
his portable Sony gramophone,
Mhm.
Just
Latest of
just
technology,
to
so the
listen to
1814s.
listening to Sir Vanilla Ice.
Sir Vanilla.
But during his inspection, George found one of the metal rings weighing 700 pounds that secures the stops. Goes around the barrel. It was loose and it had fallen a little bit, I guess.
Mhm.
But this happened several times a year, so it was no concern. He talked to his supervisor, and the supervisor was like, who fucking cares?
Is that your best British accent?
I didn't do British. It was actually more like maybe like a Brooklyn thing, but
I
I
need
feel like
you
he
to
was
redo
shooting
that.
for Bostonian or something.
But it's in Westminster.
Westminster. Who fucking cares? Is
Right.
that better?
Yeah, it sounds better, I guess.
Should I start? with
Oh, that's a barrel.
I was not picturing that.
this?
big of a
Okay.
barrel.
So the picture included. This is actually not for beer. These barrels are not for beer, but this is kind of an accurate representation of what they would have looked like back in the day. But instead of like heavy, thick rope, they would use metal bands.
I was picturing like a standard size barrel, not this big of a thing.
I don't know what a barrel is. So this is a barrel?
I
You said a
will
tube,
come
and you
to
said
your house
engorged
and
tube.
slap you.
You said engorged tube. That
You
is
have
not an
seen
engorged
fucking
tube.
barrels.
No, I have not.
Then
Uh,
that's your fault. Google
love
it.
You can't prove that, Casey.
I love
Google
that-
it. I don't care.
You're
I'm moving
gonna
on.
Drive, what, 8 hours to slap?
I think
The only
less of
thing
you
I know
now
of a
as
barrel is
person-
in Minecraft. It is a tiny little square box that opens from the front.
Close enough. Anyway, George called his boss, who told him to schedule the ring to be fixed at a later date by another brewery. He would call the other brewery who had technicians, yada, yada, whatever. At 5:30 p.m.,
Wait,
George
1814.
heard...
How is he going to call his boss?
It's a valid
How did
point.
they move the? You said it was a 700-pound ring.
Yeah. Like, I'm assuming that...
I understand technology could have existed for that. I don't understand how did he call his boss in 1814.
Well, he didn't really say call his boss. He told his boss, who then,
Carrier pigeon.
like, I guess, that sent a telegram, maybe? I'm sure that was around then. A message. Send a message to the other brewery that they need to send technicians over to fix their ring problem.
I'm just
Carrier
picturing this
pigeon, got it.
crazy ass scenario where it's like, hey, I need you to tell, I need you to tell the maintenance guy this. Next guy goes over. Hey, the maintenance guy. Something needs to be done by I forgot the time. Let's call it 5. Next guy. Hey, maintenance dude. I need to tell you something. 4 o'clock.
Where is this going?
I'm
No,
gonna push past it. Michael's losing it. The
I am.
beer's already getting to him.
Not even had one yet.
Anyway, George at 5:30 p.m. heard a massive explosion. The tank had ruptured, releasing the hot fermenting ale with such force the tank burst into splinters, which seems really hard to believe, but whatever.
Yeah, I was like, that seems like
Well, I'm
a
still
bomb
surprised
or
that everything that's happening in the 1814s.
The force of the explosion also blew out the back wall of the brewery, releasing the torrent of beer. The explosion also damaged or destroyed other vats and tanks inside the brewery. The singular tank, which held about 3,500 barrels, but altogether the brewery held 18,000 barrels worth of beer, or 567,000 gallons of beer, which is a Zetophile's dream. Which a Zethophile, in fact, is someone who likes beer, a beer enthusiast.
Is that why you said Zethophile earlier?
Yes, I did.
Were you trying to be witty?
Yes,
Interesting.
yes, I was.
You're
Anyway,
an interesting person, Casey.
thank
Don't
you.
change ever for no one,
Thank you.
no matter what people say about you.
Thank you. Anyway, not all vats were damaged, but enough was damaged where 320,000 gallons or 1.2 million liters came flooding out of the brewery. I did that for our British listeners, if we have any.
I think it's European. I think Europeans use liters.
I'm pretty sure everyone besides America and
they
one other
use
country
liters.
would be fine with you using liters.
Yep. But American people, they can't fathom that. So anyway, as the beer rushed through the poverty-stricken streets, there was one thing on everyone's mind.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that not Guinness?
My people.
Anyway, making us...
Wait, what?
That's not Guinness.
You have gallons and gallons of beer flowing through the streets, and that's what's on everyone's minds? That's not Guinness?
Probably.
Instead of run for your life, dear God, we're going to drown.
Well, hold up. I feel like you'd have.
That's not
alcoholics.
Guinness.
I feel like you'd have
Guinness.
alcoholics running towards it with a mug.
So hang on, Michael. We're going to talk about that later.
Oh, okay.
Making its way through the narrow streets, flooding everything with beer, with no drains in the city streets, this flood could not be stopped. The beer would flood basements of tenant houses, causing them to collapse or to be moved from their foundations. People were scaling tables and furniture to save themselves from drowning. All right. Mm-hmm. This waste of beer did not come without fatalities. There were reported 8 deaths from the beer flood. One of these deaths was Mary Banfield and her 4-year-old daughter, who had just sat down at some. Wow. Okay. Sorry, I'm having a stroke. Who had just sat down for some terrible British tea, probably dirt and grass clippings, when a flood of American pride came crashing through their door, where they would unfortunately die.
I'd like to point something out real quick before you make that joke. What are you drinking right now?
Russian tea.
Bill tea.
Anyway.
Why is this American pride that's killing this mother and her daughter?
Because I feel like if you think of dying from beer, it's something an American would do.
History goes back a lot further. Radio chat. Continue on.
This is our American podcast, okay? Rock, Flag, and Eagle. Remember that.
Rock, Flag, and Eagle.
Charlie Kelly once said, Rock, Flag, and Eagle.
Who's Charlie Kelly?
He's from Sunny in Philadelphia. An American sitcom.
As of 2021, I'd like to point out...
I'm drinking coffee.
Which country drinks the most amount of beer
Probably the
per
UK.
consumption? As of 2021, was China is number 1.
China?
Yeah.
Wow.
U.S. was number 2. But China was number 1.
Okay. When a flood of Chinese pride came crashing through the door, is that better?
I'm just pointing out.
Somehow that's worse.
Yeah, I think that might be worse, but I'm just pointing it out.
What's the national animal for China? Do they have one?
Give me a second.
I got it.
But yeah, no.
Oh, it's the fucking panda. Duh.
I thought it was the panda.
I was gonna.
Isn't in Zootopia?
Rock, Flag, and Panda.
Zootopia, I'm pretty sure, because they switched the news reporter in Zootopia, and I'm pretty sure in Asia it's a panda.
Rock, Flag, and Panda.
Why a rock and a flag?
I don't know. Moving on. As the floods continued their path of destruction through Westminster, it entered into the basements of a family having an Irish wake, which for people who do not know, that an Irish wake is when friends and family gathered around the deceased person to tell stories and share memories to honor the deceased. The deceased, a 2-year-old boy who had passed away the previous day, was surrounded by 4 relatives who had all passed away. RIP.
Wait, like A
I'm
flood of
confused by
beer
how you
killed
worded
these
that.
people.
So
Wow.
they were having an Irish wake for a 2-year-old who was surrounded by all their dead relatives.
No. Did I say dead relatives?
Yes.
Was surrounded by
By
four relatives
who
who would all pass
yeah,
away.
who would all pass away in the flood.
So they were doing an Irish wake for the 2-year-old,
Yes, who had
and
died
then
who had died
all
the
of
day
them-
before.
and then they all died that day.
Yes.
Okay, I'm
We
high.
got
but
we got
you
deaths
have
on
a
deaths.
weird way of explaining these things. Okay.
What's weird about it? I understand where you got confused.
I like that.
But
I'm
we
high,
got
but
deaths
this is
on
hard to
deaths.
follow.
Rip. Anyway,
Why do you say it that way?
rip. Rest in
Just
peace.
Rip. No, I'm
Rip.
talking about the inflection in the voice. I'm saying why you
Rip.
say it that way. You
Rip.
say rip. Like instead of
Gosh
rest in
darn it,
peace.
I done. Those poor boys ripped them.
Rip. You sound like you're just being a strange person.
Insensitive? I kind of am. That's the point.
Yeah, you absolutely are.
Yeah,
insensitive.
That's the
That was
point.
never in question.
Listen,
Point
there
is
is
insensitive?
nobody from this time alive to say, "Hey, Casey, I don't like it."
I'm alive in this time, and I'm saying.
But you didn't suffer during the 1814 beer flood.
That doesn't mean I want to be an asshole.
You're not. I am.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're
I
just,
see
you know,
what you-
friends with an asshole. That's you're asshole adjacent.
Yeah, that makes you my dick and balls. If I'm the asshole, you're the dick and balls.
Asshole
Your
adjacent.
dick is in for a surprise because I'm bisexual. So
Wait. Michael's just the innocent taint.
I'm just in the middle.
He just has to watch it happen.
Just in the middle.
Carrying on.
Brett being a part of this.
After the floods. After the floods have settled.
How did my life get here? Like what decisions did I make along my own journey that put me here right here now?
It all started in homeroom in the 10th grade, I think.
Oh gosh.
I definitely think we went all throughout freshman year without talking to each other.
It has to be true.
I don't think I became friends with Casey till like junior year.
Junior, I think. I think Gabe and I started to talk sophomore year and then became really good friends junior year.
Yeah, because you invited me to your basement to play Rock Band. You're like, hey, you want to come to my basement and play Rock
Don't
Band?
say it like that on the podcast. It makes me sound like I'm a creep.
All creeps.
Well,
That's part
when
of
we
the
first
podcast.
hung out the first time, you asked me if I was gay. You're like, "Hey, I got a like." We get down to your basement.
I invited you to my basement.
We
No,
get down to the basement.
I want to paint the scene because if I'm going to be the creep in this scenario, which I am, I want to paint the scene.
You
So
got
it-
me in your basement to ask me if I was gay.
How are you gonna paint the scene much better than that? Like that's what it was.
Yeah, I really can't do much better. So yeah,
No.
yeah. The junior year, I invited Gabe to my basement, to my mom's basement,
That's what it was.
to ask if you were gay. Simple question. You know, I also wanted to play Rock Band, but the gay thing that was that was
You were
priority.
just like, "Hey, I got a question. Are you gay?" And I was like, "What?" You're like, "Well, a lot of people talk about it."
It's good. Should we continue?
I'm
or should
sorry.
we-
Moving on.
After the floods have settled, a total of 8 people would be found deceased. Several people were also trapped into the rubble and debris, including 3 brewery workers, but they would later be rescued, if you will.
Surprising.
As the beer came showering off of homes and houses, the brewery workers who were rescued from the rubble would shout to the streets, "It's on the house." That never happened.
I don't think that you are including too many riffs on this one, Casey.
No, I don't think so.
This
This story is ridiculous. A real event. This is a ridiculous story.
This
feel
is a
like-
real event, and it's
Yeah.
By itself is ridiculous enough. You don't need to include your extra snidbit
No, I
of
do.
false realism.
I feel like
It's our podcast. I'll do what I want.
Absolutely, Casey. You do what you want. It's your podcast.
being the
It's
mortician
our-
in this scenario, it would they'd reek of beer.
Oh God,
They
yeah.
would.
Did the ground get? How fermented was the ground? Continue on. I want to hear.
It's
Okay.
probably warm too.
So the beer, waist high in the streets, was now a major target for freeloading scumbags like myself. People would come out of the woodworks or what's left with whatever containers they could scrounge up for the limited time only free beer. This led to hundreds of people taking part in a mass drunkenness that lasted several days, which would lead to the 9th death a few days later when someone got alcohol poisoning and died from so much beer. Also, it was in a fermenting tank, which leads me to believe that the beer wasn't like quite done.
I also
So I
have a
can't
feeling that-
imagine this beer tasting that great.
I also have a feeling because beer's not like a high alcohol proof to kill bacteria. With this beer being all of the ground of what'd you say, 18 what?
14.
Yeah, it's probably not the cleanliness. So
It's probably disgusting, but
That's what I'm saying. Like, this
you
beer
have
is probably
waist-high
like,
beer in the streets of Westminster.
That is not a dream. That is a nightmare.
yeah, I was like, 'cause
Disgusting.
beer
Also,
doesn't have
like,
high enough alcohol
smells
volume
and-
to kill bacteria.
Yeah, and you got it like sitting in the basements. You got bodies in there. And you're just dipping your mug in, having a drink.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
Cheers, mates.
I
Drink
mean,
up,
people go
boys.
swim in the ocean, and the ocean does have literally millions of dead things and people and creatures inside of it, as well
but
as
you don't
living.
go out of your way to drink the ocean. Yeah, you accidentally do, but you don't like go out and
But
take
we
a
willingly
mug.
go into the ocean, knowing all that's
Oh,
there. So
yeah.
you definitely have a body to water ratio that you are comfortable swimming in.
I mean, that's like the lake we grew up at, bro. Like, you know how many dead bodies they found?
Yeah,
in it?
but I mean, like, if you were in a survival situation, you had to go into a body infested water, you would probably be okay with it, but you would not be okay drinking a body infested water.
yeah,
No.
I don't know if I'd go out of my way to drink this beer. Just yeah,
No, this would be disgusting. I wouldn't touch this.
Or maybe it wouldn't be. Maybe the combination somehow gives a distinct flavor.
You can have your interesting flavor palette, and you will be the 9th person or the 10th
I think I'd
person
try it one time.
to die.
I would risk. I don't know, what kind of disease do you think you can get from that?
any. Like, you gotta think this is a time
like
period
a-
where
I
they didn't
don't
have a lot
know.
of.
Well, I don't think we can have an episode without it. So, do you think you could like, get syphilis from this?
Again, I'm not sure.
If okay, in the scenario you
know,
described
I
where
just
like
don't
I've
think
gone
you
down to
should
the
drink
basement of
this.
this dead person and just taken a mug, yeah, maybe from
Could
like
you imagine the guy that went down there and he saw all the people that had died at the wake, and he just like dips his bucket into the water?
Why is he getting the beer from that spot?
Well, maybe after the beer has like washed out of the streets, you know.
I mean,
still
honestly, yeah, I was like,
little
I'm gonna
thirsty.
say it sounds like these guys are alcoholics, so they'll get their beer anywhere.
Yeah, dude.
Also, not to play it off, but like I like how everyone died from a drowning, and this one person died of alcohol poisoning, and you're just kind of
Yeah.
like, wow, this is really.
You know, it'd been
gruesome.
funny if this guy wasn't drinking beer. Like he died of alcohol poisoning, but it's unrelated to the beer floods.
Like
He
he had
was
an
just
open
drinking
wound,
in his
and,
house and no
the beer got into his open wound, and it just killed him.
Or he was like at his house on the second floor, totally dry, just drinking wine, and he's like, "Fuck it, what's one more bottle gonna do?" Rip.
I'm not a fan of that. I don't like it.
You're not meant to. Anyway,
Here's
shall
me.
I continue on?
Do whatever the fuck you want.
Some articles say that families would display the corpses of the family members to raise money. Like they would display them in their houses, like museums, like weird, horrible museums. Anyway, this led to one house displaying their family members for beer money. It wasn't actually beer money. They were displaying their family to raise money for the funeral and death expenses, things like that. And the floor collapsed under the weight of all the American visitors. There were no American visitors, but the floor did collapse under the weight of the visitors. And they all fell, plunging into the waist-high beer-flooded cellar, which is just a sobering reminder of their difficult times. I did a pun. You guys
How
are done with me, aren't you?
how are you gonna display some like, oh look how soaked he is in beer. I need help bearing like money for a funeral.
Now they need money for a floor, probably a whole house.
Also, I'm wondering, did the bodies fall in with them? So now their bodies are just back
Yeah.
in the beer.
Or back to
That's even worse. That's even worse.
body-filled beer. Hey, indoor pools though. Think of the positives. Checkmate.
Dude, within one day that pool would smell god awful.
It's also a pool of fermented beer or fermenting beer.
Yeah.
It probably smells terrible to begin with.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So because of the disaster, the brewery was taken to court. The courts ruled that this was just an act of God, and the brewery was cleared of all wrongdoing legally. But the brewery was not without a loss of their own. This little fiasco cost the brewery around £20,000 or $30,000 in 1814, which, when accounted for inflation, would be £2.3 million or $3.1 million US dollars.
Not gonna lie, I figured that I feel like that bankrupt you back then.
Later on, they would move the operation to another brewery. Do I mention this?
Is it because they couldn't
Yes, it
afford, like they couldn't fix the building or something?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't until a later date when they like destroyed the building and stuff. They like operated there for a while, and then they moved the manufacturing. Finally, they conclude. Oh yeah, they conclude the story of the beer flood. The manufacturing was moved to another facility, and Horseshoe Brewery was demolished in 1922.
How are you gonna say it's
So
an act of
this-
God?
I was
Like,
just
it
saying,
sounds
if
like-
you hit a deer on the road,
But it sounds like I don't know. It just sounds like they weren't
They could
maintaining
have
their
fixed
equipment.
the
Yeah.
equipment.
Well, they saw that. They saw the ring slip, and they like put in a request to get it fixed. They couldn't get it done that day from the lack of communication means. Like depending on where this other brewery was, like I mean, it could take a day just for them to get the message.
I still feel like there was some
But I feel
safety
like they could've-
procedure
Yeah.
they could have followed.
Well, back
or-
then they probably didn't have nearly as many. They for sure didn't have nearly as many safety procedures.
Oh no, OSHA wasn't a thing. I guarantee you, OSHA would have been all over this if it was a thing
No,
back
because
then.
remember the Radium Girls is what established OSHA, and that wasn't until 1930s.
Oh yeah.
Something like that.
Damn, we know stuff now. Hell yeah. But so after this incident, the brewery would also then switch to concrete vats, which obviously later on would turn into metal, but that's like, decades later.
I mean, honestly, that'd probably be for the best.
Yeah, the concrete vats were definitely for the best at this time. And then obviously, like I said, decades later, they would switch to the metal ones.
Yeah, the tanks.
But let's take a moment to recognize those who died a glorious death. We got Eleanor Cooper, age 14, Mulvey, age 30, Thomas Murray, age 3, Hannah Bamfield, age 4, Sarah Bates, age 3, Anne Saville, age 60, Elizabeth Smith, who was 27, Catherine Butler, who's 65. Those are the people who had died in the London beer floods.
But man, drowning's one way to go. Like I just thinking about it, like drowning is a scary way to go, just filling your lungs up with liquid, but like to fill it up with beer, to drown in beer.
Well, also it was hot fermenting beer, so I don't know what temperature that gets to, but I can't imagine.
What if they got rapid
yeah,
alcohol
it could,
poisoning?
cooked you a little bit too.
Well, you're gonna die from drowning before you get rapid
Yeah.
alcohol poisoning. Your lungs filling with beer will kill you before.
Yeah, because it doesn't say how fast they died or anything like that. I'll stop.
I was gonna say.
I'll stop.
If they drowned in beer, that wouldn't be.
All right, they drowned. These 8 + 1 drowned in beer.
Well, the +1 died of alcohol poisoning.
That's why I kind of excluded it.
Seems like a personal choice.
It was.
Okay, real quick. So the ideal temperature range for fermenting beer depends on the type of yeast used. It can be anywhere from 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 to 22 degrees Celsius. That'd be pretty hot.
It was October in the UK, so it probably wasn't that hot outside, so it wouldn't be fermenting outside.
No, because it'd probably once it bursts, it'd probably start cooling really quick, I'd imagine.
The heat would just.
But in reality, I feel like all those people didn't die from drowning. I mean, I feel like with the water rushing in or the beer rushing in so quick, and maybe they got like smashed up against the wall.
That's possible.
Just like rubble from building collapses, things like that.
Oh my god! You know what I just thought about?
What?
The amount of animals that would have died.
Maybe not.
You'd have to think there'd be a lot of. You would assume there'd be rats? Well, no, because rats can hold their breath, right, for floods and stuff.
I don't think
Be a
animal
drunk rat,
deaths
though.
would be as big of a problem as you think, because
I think the animal just
Westminster was
came
a city.
rushing in through like that. I mean, there's got to be animals in the streets. You think?
Maybe. I mean, I guess people might have had cats to ward off rats, but we don't care about the rats. And the cats are quick. They're spicy little creatures. They probably would have been fine.
Spicy little creatures.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Is Michael deep diving into something?
Yes.
You want to share with the class?
Yes, give me a second. I'm pulling it up right now.
Oh, okay.
What was this called? The beer what? London beer what?
London beer
beer
floods of
floods.
1814.
Yeah.
Floods.
Yeah, what he said. I like this story. This is a good one. I had fun with this. You guys are
You had too
judging
much
me.
fun with this.
Yeah, because, I mean, come on.
It was already a ridiculous enough story.
Yeah, I just embellished it a little bit.
You
I had
embellished.
fun. I'm having fun.
I'm glad you're having
Bitch,
fun.
don't kill my vibes.
It's dead.
No, I was reading how long it would take to clean up.
It said that the smell of the beer lasted for months. Because, I mean, like, you got to think, the beer would have soaked into the walls, the floors, like all the wooden beams and foundation and stuff.
I was
Like,
gonna
it
say,
would have soaked in there into
I've
the
got it right here.
dirt.
While the specific timeline of cleanup is not detailed in search results, it is clear the area remained affected by the stench of beer for several months after the flood. The brewery itself went back in operation relatively quickly, but it eventually closed and was demolished years later, which you already knew about. But apparently, people reeked of beer for a couple of weeks. 'Cause I'm assuming
Yeah.
bathing wasn't like a normal thing, so like they just kind of were like, oh, I'm covered
I
in
don't
beer,
think
whatever.
they bathe that often.
Yeah. Like it's like, oh, I'm just covered in beer.
One was plumbing.
I could only
introduced.
imagine being covered in like just walking around like 2 weeks later. It's like, dude, you still smell like shit. I'm like, yeah, it happened like 2 weeks ago.
What? Plumbing wasn't common in the UK until like during the late 19th and 20th centuries.
That sounds accurate.
Okay, yeah, so they wouldn't have had like running water.
No.
I wonder if the beer floods would have like, in a sense, tainted the rivers and stuff around there too.
For sure.
And it probably would have
Poisoned the fish.
Well, maybe it might have got diluted enough to where it didn't like damage too much of the ecology in it. But I feel like there would have been because the beer would have soaked into the ground and then probably eventually made its way into the rivers and streams and things like that. So the water probably would have had like a beer smell to it for some time. You know
That's
what
accurate.
I
can see that.
You don't have a lot to say right now, Gabe. That just get you that bad today.
You did.
Good.
So
You did.
okay, so
Good.
bacteria, because I googled how much bacteria can be found on beer that has been like drank off the ground, just any ground. I didn't really go specific. Beer on ground can have a variety of bacteria, including spoilage bacteria like lactic acid bacteria and acidic acid bacteria as well. The specific types and quantities of bacteria will depend on the factors like the source of the beer and the environment it was spilled in.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be for modern beer in modern times?
Well, yeah, I don't know if I can get any info on like back then.
I'm just saying I don't know if that would be accurate for
But
the
beer
time.
spoilage, while beer is naturally somewhat resistant to spoilage due to alcohol and low pH and other factors, certain bacteria can still grow and cause off flavors and aromas. So it starts stinking too from it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then there's like microorganisms that'll be in it. Like
That's what I was imagining.
that's crazy. So yeah, so these people might have actually like gotten sick from it, and they probably would have just been like, "Oh, I drank too much beer," even though it's like, no, you probably have got something from drinking your beer. And back then they didn't have medicine like they do now to fix stuff like that, so I just had to deal with it.
How do you fix a
I'm sure there's like antibiotics or something.
18,000 gallons of beer rushing down this city?
Band-Aids.
Oh, I just meant like the
A
bacteria
lot of Band-Aids.
from drinking it.
Band-Aids.
So many Band-Aids.
Can you imagine being the janitor, like the town calls you and you're just like, "Hey, we got this beer spill." You show up, you're like, this is gonna take me forever.
Like, well, here's a mop. Get to it, buddy.
Just one person with a mop and a bucket. It's just like
He's like
I'll call
standing waist
I'll call
deep
you when
in
it's
the
done.
beer.
All day.
and the
just
mop
like-
is still like on the ground.
I imagine your skin would absorb it too after a while. Like it would just go through your clothes and I
Oh,
feel like
yeah.
your skin would start
Oh.
absorbing it.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I
that
feel
guy's
a little
looking for
drunk.
a sham wow. Where would you like push that to? Yeah, I guess you just wait till it just like washes out of the
Into
streets.
the ground or continues washing down. Yeah.
The ground would eventually absorb it, I'd imagine. Like it
Well,
just
I mean,
soaked
it
into the
would
ground.
like wash out. I mean, inside the basements, the cellars, like it would.
Yeah, I mean, like even when it floods, eventually the water.
I was gonna say if
seeps
they're
back
not
down.
sealed enough to keep it from flooding basements, it's probably still gonna absorb into the ground eventually.
Yeah, that's
But then you question like if does that mean that part of could you plant any vegetables or anything? Or would the soil be messed up, like the pH of the soil now?
The soil is absolutely probably messed up. I don't know if that would be
well,
beneficial or
that's
more harmful, but who knows?
a random
I don't know.
question, but no, you would if the plants didn't die because of like the chemical imbalance in the soil, you would waterlog the plants and they would
I was gonna
die.
say because that'd mess up everything because now you've killed all your crops for your town. Livestock would probably have an issue because they probably, I don't know, they couldn't eat the grass of that area anymore.
The livestock survived.
That was like,
Yeah,
no,
that's
they
true.
could.
I'm picturing,
Well,
like, cows
you're talking.
just
Okay, you're talking
following,
about you're inside of Westminster, which is a larger town in the UK.
That's true. Yeah.
Especially in
I don't know how
1814,
big
so-
that town was in
Oh, yeah, it's
1814.
Yeah, it's 1814. I don't know how huge it was back then. Like nowadays, yeah, it's a city. Back then, it might have just been a smaller village.
I don't know what they classify as a city back then. I'm unfamiliar with the local area of Westminster.
Yeah, it just says it was a significant complex or it was densely populated area.
Well, it could have had a lot of people. It could have been huge. Who knows?
just
I
don't
could look
think
it
it was
up, but
that,
I'm not
like-
going to.
Because when was the industrial age when they brought in machines and bigger buildings?
In 1801, Westminster had about 165,000 people.
Well, that is a decent amount.
So
Be a pretty big sized town then.
that's the size of Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah, it's decently large.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it would have just washed through the streets and then made its way out of the city eventually, and just it probably wouldn't even made it out of the city before it just
Would have just.
settled.
I just figure the further it went, it would just dissipate too. So by the time it reached the farmland, it'd probably be like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. That was the London beer floods of 1814. Gabe, you got any final thoughts?
No.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
That is a tragic way to go, being flooded by beer.
Michael, you got any final thoughts?
I'm picturing like, so the only thing I can picture in my head is I'm picturing the end of Oh Brother Where Art Thou when the flood breaks, but instead of water it's just beer. Like that's all I can picture right now.
Oh god. And then the house is floating. The roof of the house is
That's
just
what I'm
floating
saying.
What?
by.
I know it probably wasn't that intense, but I'm just
Yeah,
picturing
yeah,
it
No,
that
it wouldn't be
much.
that intense, but I bet there would actually probably be more similarities than you think.
Because obviously that water was like it. You know, you'd see houses float away. Like this is like what you said, knee or waist deep beer.
Yeah, and I don't know how. I mean, yeah, it ripped houses out of the foundations and
Yeah.
it
That's
crumbled
true.
some.
That'd be
I
pretty
mean, you
similar.
don't need much water to move things.
That's true.
I've seen the videos of the cars getting shifted just by like a foot or two, like a foot of water,
Hmm.
because it's moving fast enough.
You think if you were drunk enough, you wouldn't care? Like if you think you were just so drunk off that, you just see your house start floating away, you'd be like, "Oh, there goes my house. I got
I
beer."
think they would care. Whether you're
I think
drunk
they
or
would
not, I
care.
think you'd care.
You'd probably try to swim to it.
You're like, if I wasn't poor before, this is going to set me back a little bit.
If I wasn't poor before, this is a real setback.
No, you just got promoted at work. You're now the head person at the butcher shop or whatever. You know, like
It's a brewery
you
guy.
you just bought the new house.
Damn,
It's
I'm
a-
glad I'm
celebrate.
fixing that up.
And then
It's
the
a
flood,
brewery
the beer flood.
worker. A brewery worker's washing his house.
Mm.
Wash away. It's like, so not only am I out of a job, I've lost my house.
I don't know how to break this to the wife.
What if you were the same person to notify them to be like, hey, can we get that fixed? And they're like, yeah, we'll get to it eventually. It's like, okay. And then you go home that day and use your house.
And they're like, and then you get back and they're like, hey, because you didn't notify us fast enough, like you're fired. I'd be like, oh,
That-
cool. So this is the worst day of my life.
That would be a good question though, because you know insurance probably wasn't a thing then, so you didn't have insurance on your house. So like, would the beer company be at like, would they take care of your house since they were the ones that messed up? Because it was called an act of God, so now it's like, are you just screwed on your house because God took your house in a
Oh,
beer
yeah.
flood?
How would that work back then?
So I'd almost think like if you lost your house, the beer company would be at fault, but because the court deemed it an act of God, it's like, so am I just out of a house now because God rained beer?
God
on my
decided
house?
you didn't need a house anymore.
God was like, you're
Insurance
living
was
too good
definitely
right
a
now. Take the
thing.
house.
The earliest forms of insurance date back to the 1500s.
Okay, so they
Yeah, but
probably
like
had
house
then.
insurance.
First fire insurance was in 1700s.
Okay.
Well, they probably had housing insurance then. I'd hope. I do like your idea though, Gabe. It's like God's just like, you're getting real cocky. I'm taking your house.
And so you're things are looking a little too good for you.
Hey, you're living the high life and bragging about it. I'm gonna humble you real quick.
Let's just get that house moving on down the road. Your house would look
maybe-
really good down the street.
Yeah, maybe it was the earliest relocation program.
You know, I didn't like your house on that corner, so I moved it a block down.
It's like it really took up the view.
What if there was one house that got pushed off of its foundation and got perfectly placed back on another foundation? Guy just shows up and he's like, hey, is this my house? Like, it looks exactly the same, but I feel like the view is different.
Yeah, what if it was like a better view? You're like, oh, this is kind
Would
of
you
upgrade. I like
lose?
it.
Would you lose your house because
Oh god.
It's on
Someone's
his
asleep
foundation.
upstairs and they never woke up as the house shifted the whole time. Now
Well,
it's
like,
on the new
yeah, but like,
foundation.
Because
So-
it's their
So-
foundation and they probably have a deed or whatever to it. I don't know if they had.
I don't know if they had. I don't know how it works back then.
I
Either way,
don't know.
I think we're opening up a whole bunch of questions that I don't know if this is the time or the place for, but it's fantastic.
You wanted us to talk, we started talking,
was
and
like,
now you're shutting us down. All right.
And shutting me down.
Well, I said
That's your
final
fault.
thoughts. I said final thoughts. And we're going down a rabbit hole here.
Yeah, we're getting our final thoughts out, Casey.
That's true. You're right. I take it back.
That's
Carry
I'm
on.
bringing it up, man. I'm like, because if my house got pulled away by a beer, my first thought is, I can't afford this. I really hope someone's gonna help me. Like these people over here are trying to raise money for their family's funeral. I'm like, can I raise money for my house? Here's a picture of my house on the ground and
Helen and her dead son just fell through the floor. Gonna have to help them out now.
That would also suck. I just
What do you mean?
imagine you.
Why
trying
wouldn't
to
you
raise
help them?
money.
Are you not a good neighbor?
Are they dead?
No.
I'm picturing you're trying to
They
raise.
didn't
money.
Oh, I thought you said they died.
No. So
Trying to
they
raise
fell through
money
the
for a
floor, so I'm
funeral.
gonna have to help. I said her dead son because he would be on display.
And
Helen
then the
didn't
floor
die.
gives out, and you're just like, that 2 shillings is not gonna have to go to this.
Did you miss the section, Gabe, where people would put their dead on display?
No, I listened.
Okay.
When you say that, what are we talking? Like they just put them in a casket on display, or how we like? Did they go into detail of this on how they put them on display?
Not really, but have you ever seen like the old pictures of the old West whenever they would like have people like set up right in the coffins and stuff?
That's what I was picturing. And I was like,
Oh,
is
yeah.
that it?
That's kind of what I'm picturing.
That's what I was thinking about. I'm like, there's no way they got to be like laying in their like casket or something. Although if they're raising money for it, they probably didn't have a casket.
This is probably like the earliest GoFundMe.
Actually, they probably didn't. They might have just had them on a table, like set up, because they probably didn't have money for the casket if they were raising it.
Okay, I feel like in 1814, like a casket was just
It's a pine box.
Well, yeah, it was a pine box.
It's literally just a pine box. They weren't fancy back then.
You just rip sections of your house apart to build it.
Use the floor that broke.
Yeah, the house is partially destroyed anyway.
You got boards everywhere now.
Yeah, now you got access to boards and beer-covered nails.
Ah, that sounds like an infection.
Well, they're dead, so it doesn't matter.
They didn't die.
Zombie infection.
Why would you build a casket for a living person?
I'm saying the people who are raising
Because they're
money for
gonna die
this
eventually.
kid, they fell through the floor. You didn't specify they died falling through the floor.
They didn't.
Oh, okay.
What are we talking
How
about
did they
right now?
die?
Yeah, I'm saying
Who's
that sounds like
dead?
a crazy infection from the beer soaking nails, and you're like, well, why would the dead build a coffin? I'm like, the living are building it for their dead one.
Yeah.
I hate you. I hate you so much.
Dude, I am
I hate you so
heckin' confused right now.
Can we get a playback on what just happened?
I don't want to.
I don't
I'm
remember.
just gonna let Riverside
How did the
handle
conversation get to where it got? When you edit
Uh,
this, can you send me
No.
a clip of this so I can?
Oh, you want a clip of it? Yeah, I could probably do that. Or you
You
could
gotta
just
break it down.
watch the podcast.
He's
I
got to
won't
break
do
it down.
that.
I know you won't.
I refuse
Anyway.
to watch your podcast.
It's our podcast. Anyway, thanks for joining us today, guys. I don't know. Hope you had fun. I did.
Don't
a good time.
die in a flood of beer.
Yeah,
Can,
enjoy a
uh,
beer. Just don't overdo
Make sure
it.
your insurance is covering
Yeah.
everything.
Have a beer.
Yeah, call
listen
your
to us
insurance
on
company right
Spotify.
now and make sure they cover beer floods.
You know, subscribe, like, comment, send to your friend, pigeon mail. I don't know. Do what you got to do. We love you guys. Anything? How do you feel about our fans, Michael?
I'm trying to remember all of them. I'm glad they're watching. Thanks for the support.